Hari Bol, Hare Krishna, Om Tat Sat, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya, Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam, Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha, Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitamtam Sajivam, Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sagitam, Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha, Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale, Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nidhinamane, Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini, Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna. So, we are reading today from 4.11.31. Canto 4, Chapter 11, Text 31. I think you're hearing the noise of a generator working next door. You're not hearing anything? Is anybody hearing a noise? Very disturbing in the Kudisia campus.
No, we are not able to hear anything.
You're not able to hear, right? I have to hear it. I'm subjected to hear it and try to speak to you. It's like as though it's next door. Very loud noise. Samyacharosham badram te pratipam shreyasam param shrutena bhuyasa rajan agadena yata mayam. My dear king, just consider what I have said to you, which will act as medicinal treatment upon disease. Control your anger, for anger is the foremost enemy on the path of spiritual realization. I wish all good fortune for you. Please follow my instructions. Dhruva Maharaj was a liberated soul. And actually, he was not angry with anyone. But because he was the ruler, it was his duty to become angry for some time in order to keep law and order in the state. His brother Uttama was without fault, yet he was killed by one of the Yakshas. It was the duty of Dhruva Maharaj to kill the offender life for life, because Dhruva was the king. When the challenge came, Dhruva Maharaj fought vehemently and punished the Yakshas sufficiently. But anger is such that if one increases it, it increases unlimitedly. In order that Dhruva Maharaja's kingly anger not exceed the limit, Manu was kind enough to check his grandson. Dhruva Maharaja could understand the purpose of his grandfather, and he immediately stopped the fighting. The words Shrutena Bhuyasa, by constantly hearing, are very important in this verse. By constantly hearing about devotional service, one can check the force of anger, which is detrimental to the process of devotional service. Since Parikshit Maharaj said that the constant hearing of the pastimes of the Lord is the panacea for all material diseases, everyone, therefore, should hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly. By hearing, one can always remain in equilibrium, and thus his progress in spiritual life will not be hampered. Dhruva Maharaja's becoming angry with the miscreants was quite appropriate. There is a short story in this connection about a snake who became a devotee upon instruction by Narada, who instructed him not to bite anymore. Since ordinarily a snake's business is to fatally bite other living entities, as a devotee he was forbidden to do so. Unfortunately, people took advantage of this non-violence on the part of the snake, especially the children, who began to throw stones at him. He did not bite anyone, however, because it was the instruction of his spiritual master. After a while, when the snake met his spiritual master Narada, he complained, "I have given up the bad habit of biting innocent living entities, but they were mistreating me by throwing stones at me." Upon hearing this, Narada Muni instructed him, "Don't bite, but do not forget to expand your hood as if you are going to bite. Then they will go away." Similarly, a devotee is always non-violent, is qualified with all good characteristics. But in the common world, when there is mischief made by others, he should not forget to become angry, at least for the time being, in order to drive away the miscreants. Om Tat Sat, Om Ajnana Timidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya, Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavati Paschatya Deshatarine Jayasi Krishna Chaitanya Prabho Nityananda Siyadvaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We have been discussing enough about Dhruva Maharaj's pastimes and especially these instructions. So here Swayambhuva Manu's very sincere request to the Dhruva Maharaj is to please stop becoming angry. Swayambhuva Manu has given philosophy, connection, explained about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then finally he's saying it is coming out of anger. Stop being angry. There. Somebody is confirming what I'm saying. Neela color. Yes, when you get angry, you will get Neela color. Mostly from red to blue. So, he's also saying control your anger, for anger is the foremost enemy on the path of spiritual realization. I wish all good fortune to you. Please follow my instructions. Right? Prabhupada's purport says that if you read regularly, Shrutena Bhuyasa, there is a good chance that you will not always be angry. Samyacha Rosham Bhadramte. Rosham means anger. Pratipam, which means enemy. Shreyasam, all goodness. Param, the foremost. Shrutena, by hearing. Bhuyasa, constantly. Rajan, my dear king. Agadena, by medicinal treatment. Yatha, as amayam, disease. So, the instructions given by Swayambhuva Manu are the type of instructions you can get if you read the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam regularly. If you do that, that acts as a medicinal treatment. And many things will not happen, or rather many things will be minimized, controlled. So here is Dhruva Maharaja's anger being examined. So we are surprised on one side, how is it that Dhruva Maharaj is getting angry? That's what we are going to be surprised about. So Another type of thinking would be, oh, even Dhruva Maharaj is getting angry, so it does not matter if I get angry. And here Prabhupada is giving instruction, you must get angry once in a while to keep the people under control. So these are amazing instructions from the Bhagavatam in terms of controlling anger. Because it is mentioned here that you should control your anger. Don't mistake it for, you have to do away with your anger. Controlling your anger means utilizing it properly. Doing away with your anger is not possible in this material world. As long as you have this material body, you have this material mind, you have a material body which has requirements and everything, people are automatically subject to anger. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. These 6 coverings are spoken about a lot in Prabhupada's purports. And out of them, in the 2nd chapter, 3rd chapter, and all that, in the Bhagavad Gita, there is a whole description of how just by being inside the material world and using our senses to meditate on objects of the senses, dhyayato vishayan pumsah sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kama kama krodho vijayate. Krodha, anger. Here it is mentioned rosham, anger. They actually gradually develop. One type of anger which is very natural in the material world is not getting your desires satisfied, not getting your material desires satisfied, desires of the body and the senses, desires of the mind, desires of the intellect, all these together are desires. When your desires are not satisfied, then there is anger. For a person who is spiritually oriented, he has no great desire to get his material desires satisfied. But he may have a desire to get many of his spiritual aspects and aspirations satisfied. And there are times when in the borderline, we can get disturbed, we can get angry, even when we are spiritually not meeting our expectations. Prabhupada said that you can't do anything about certain things. In the material world, spiritualists who become frustrated with material life, they deny existence to themselves, they deny individuality to themselves, they want to merge into Brahman and give up everything. This is one type of anger. Very subtle. I'm sick of everything. I want to, give up my own individuality. So that is a limit. But a devotee, after that limit is over, beyond that, when you engage in devotional service, you can be angry for the sake of Krishna. You can be angry for the sake of Krishna. Below that platform, you are angry for the sake of your material sense gratificatory desires not being satisfied. Right? So it is not about doing away with anger. It's more about recognizing where it is coming from and controlling it accordingly. Controlled anger means anger that a devotee shows with full consciousness that he is showing it. In the material world, because of sense gratification, when we show anger, we lose control completely. There's no chance of control. It's driven by passion. It's driven by rajoguna. Kama yesha krodha yesha rajoguna samudbhava. Mahashano mahapapamo viddiyena miha vairinam. Krishna there is telling lust is your greatest enemy. Right? Kama yesha krodha yesha. It is coming from anger. Right? So these are all interconnected very closely. In the material world, under material gratificationary purposes, we get angry, we definitely don't have control over it. We can do all crazy things. Krodhat bhavis sammoha, sammohat smriti vibhramaha, smriti bhramshat buddhi nasho, buddhi nashat pranashyati. It can lead you to do abominable things because you lose your intelligence. You will lose your intelligence and you will do abominable things, mostly physically or verbally. And then later you may regret it in your less angry moods. So anger for sense gratification and anger for devotional service. Obviously, Dhruva Maharaj, who is a devotee, has crossed into a different barrier and is being told that do not lose control. Swayambhu Manu is not telling him don't get angry. Swayambhu Manu is telling him control your anger. A devotee is the only person who can control his anger. And therefore Swayambhu Manu is telling Dhruva Maharaj, control your anger. So it's a borderline problem, actually. But if you go to the material world and tell people, don't be angry, they ask you the question, how it's possible not to be angry? How it's possible not to be angry? I cannot do it. And sometimes I feel devotees saying, no, don't get angry, don't get angry. No, it's about controlling anger. It's about controlling anger. Invariably, people in this world get frustrated. They get frustrated due to material sense gratification. They get frustrated to their own personal behaviors and habits. They get frustrated and angry with the people otherwise outside of them. The government, many things you can get angry, frustrated with. So the material world is a place where you can easily get angry. That is a different thing. We are often told about Hanuman got angry and he was determined to get back Sita and pacify Rama. Rama, on the other hand, had entrusted this very confidentially to Hanuman. So Hanuman, it is mentioned that with the great control, he got anger. This is a brilliant example. He decided what to do. And if you look at that Leela of him visiting Lanka and setting it on fire, you will see that he planned every move. He first met Sita and he was extremely happy that he had found Sita. And then he had this conversation with Sita, which is, so rare that you can meet Lakshmi and you can have discussion. And then he assured her, Rama is coming very soon, don't worry. And then he went and sat on the wall and thought, before I go from here, I should leave a souvenir here. I should not simply go back now that I found Sita. And he decided, and he ravaged the whole gardens first and made the others angry. And when they were angry, they attacked and he attacked. And there was a total ruckus. He killed so many of them. He was so bold and so courageous, simply on the basis of Rama. And you can see that he was paraded through the streets and all sorts of things, but he remained very much controlled. He knew what he was doing. He was taken to Ravana. He thought, I should see Ravana. I made all this mess so that I can go and see this guy, Ravana. I must see him after coming all the way to Lanka. If I don't see Ravana, what is the use of my visit to Lanka? Of course, it has been very useful because I've been able to see Sita. But let's see this guy also. He wanted to see who this fellow Ravana is, who dared take Sita. Because Sita said she will not come with him back. It's better that Rama comes and takes back. So he understood that. So I must see Ravana. He thought, next program, having it is not actually original part of his agenda. And it is not something that Sugriva told him or Rama told him, just get to see Ravana and say hi to him and come back. No, it was his own agenda. So he did all these things, and then he was paraded through the streets and brought in front of Ravana. He got to see Ravana. That is very interesting. That he was tied up, Actually, he could have broken all the ropes very easily, but he purposely pretended. He was beaten, he was kicked and all that. He tolerated a lot of things. It's totally not getting angry. That scene when he is paraded, he is kicked, and everybody thinks he is conquered and all, he is actually pretending. Because Indrajit's Brahmastra hits him and all that. But the rule is that while the Brahmastra is affected on him, if you tie him with rope and do all these things, the effect will be lost. But although that effect was lost, he still pretended as though he's weak and everything, so that he can come and see Ravana. This is the meaning of controlled anger. He knows what he's doing. And others are doing all sorts of crazy things to him. He doesn't get angry because we had to see Ravana. So they were having fun, all the Rakshasas, and they brought him to Ravana. And he got to see Ravana. And he gave his amazing replies to Ravana and irritated him so much. And then finally, he was ready to kill him. So the minister at Vibhishana advised that you cannot do that to him. He's a messenger. And he has not done anything to you. Like that, he confused it. He said, set his tail on fire. So that was planned. And then he started his mischief, Hanuman, in a controlled way. Imagine if your tail is set on fire, how you should be jumping around in pain and in this thing. Nothing he did. He jumped, escaped, and set the whole of Lanka on fire. So many houses and buildings and public places he set on fire. In a controlled way he did, and he came back to report everything that he did. So that is amazing. That is amazing. And when Sita heard that he's setting this and he's doing his tail has been set on fire, she prayed to Agni and she said, you must not harm Hanuman in any way. He should not feel it. That's why he didn't feel also. So this is an example of controlled anger, which here in the purport Prabhupada is saying sometimes devotees have to learn how to do this. Because people in this world will invariably tease devotees, give trouble to them out of envy. And you'll meet with many situations where you have to face things. And it's highly frustrating. And there's a good chance that you fall into a different platform of anger and frustration. But it's shown here, you show the anger in such a way that you scare away the people or make them understand that don't take me for granted. I will do the needful if necessary. Don't think I am a devotee and I will not do something to you. To keep them at bay, we need to get angry. So that's why you will read this anger of certain sages, anger of Brahma, anger of Shiva, all of them. Lord Shiva also got angry. He is another example of controlled anger. He was very patient with Daksha. My father-in-law, normally we hear mother-in-law and the daughter, having problems. But here is a case of problem with the father-in-law. And how Lord Shiva handled it is very, very mature. Where he needed to teach a lesson to the Devas, he did that. He got angry. He produced Virabhadra. He sent him, go, do the needful. His anger was just ordinary stuff. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki. He just cut off the head of Daksha. He's just simply planned and did it. Cut the head of Daksha and make a mess of the whole yajna. because these fellows don't deserve anything. He decided, and he was very controlled about it. He was not in the scene, but he got everything done. And when the demigods and all of them came with Brahma to meet him later, he was very peaceful. Under a huge banyan tree, he was discussing. After doing this amazing thing of having Virabhadra cut off Daksha's head and put a goat head on him, he was the least bit concerned that he has done anything wrong or disturbed or anything. So he immediately pardoned the Devas. And he said that, I know these Devas are childish, kiddish. I did this to teach them a lesson only. So these two examples are brilliant examples of this. That you can get angry, and you can get angry in a controlled way, and you can teach a powerful lesson. What cannot a devotee do in the service of the Lord? He can even use anger in the service of the Lord. He can use lust in the service of the Lord. Dharma viruddha bhuteshu kamo asmi bharatarshava. Bhaktisiddhanta Sasi Thakur is known to have said, if you can give me guarantee that all my children will become Krishna conscious, I'm willing to have 100 children, get married and have 100 children. Not 1, 2, 3, 4. 100 children. I'm willing to. But that's not possible. Therefore, he did not. So, you can use anything and everything in the service of Krishna, provided you know how to do it and you're Krishna conscious. This is a great lesson. Using anger in the service of the Lord. That is what is controlled anger. In the Krishna conscious philosophy, we never do away with anything. Anashakta vishayan upay nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchyate. We see everything as connected with Krishna. What can I do using myself and my faculties for the service of Krishna? If it's necessary for me to get angry to accomplish something, let me do that. So many times we have to do. You can sometimes tell people, because that's the nature of the world. People are like that. People just take you for granted. They become very familiar with you. And sometimes you need to push them hard to wake them up from their reverie and make them understand that this is serious. So you can see Prabhupada getting angry. You can hear that in the dialogues, and you can hear in the conversations, his life history. Certain things Prabhupada got so angry, his disciples were so afraid to go near him. The Supreme Personality of Godhead got angry. He appeared as Narsimadev. He was so angry that nobody could go near him, including Lakshmi. And only Prahalad could approach him and pacify him. Right? So, anger in the service of the Lord is controlled anger. Anger for your sense gratification is anger out of control. And that's what happened to Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu did not know how to utilize anything in the service of the Lord, obviously. He was an asura. And because of his anger and because of his anger on his child, who happened to be a pure devotee of the Lord, things happened very differently. Things happened very differently. So here Dhruva Maharaj is able to immediately understand this and cease from getting angry anymore and acting on that. Quite often it happens in a snap. You don't know it is warning you and it is coming or something. Some people, by a little experience, they are able to control themselves. Some people have got others who tell them, don't get angry, okay? Be careful. That is good fortune if you have somebody who can help you. But normally we get angry, especially to do with material things. We have to be very careful. I hear of people getting angry in their household affairs. I hear of people getting angry somewhere in school, even children are getting angry. I hear people getting angry in the workplace and making a mistake. So it's Maya's way of keeping you under control. We can see how vulnerable we are. We have absolutely no control how things happen. So the best thing, like Prabhupada is saying here, is if you constantly read and if you constantly hear, by constantly hearing about devotional service, one can check the force of anger, which is detrimental to the process of devotional service. Srila Parikshit Maharaj said that the constant hearing of the pastimes of the Lord is a panacea for all material diseases. Everyone, therefore, should hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly. By hearing, one can always remain in equilibrium, and thus his progress in spiritual life will not be hampered. See, so Prabhupada has given this wonderful Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, and so many other books. We should try to sit down and read together and then discuss Krishna consciousness, discuss Krishna, discuss his Leela, and deeply internally placate ourselves. You become internally satisfied. Yayatma suprasiddhati. Suprasiddhati. Very satisfied and very happy by getting connected with Krishna, hearing about Krishna. This is what the Atma really needs. And if you give that solid desire and allow the Atma to be satisfied, he will not get angry for small things, big things, or anything for that matter. It's very difficult to provoke somebody to get angry. One who's fixed in Krishna consciousness, it's very difficult to provoke him to get angry. The famous story that goes on about Alexander coming to India to conquer. Of course, after coming to India, he took a turn back. Who's that? Purushottaman, King Porus. He defeated him. Supposed to be Purushottaman, Porus. He defeated, Alexander defeated Porus, but Porus gave him a very good fight. But something happened to him in India, in that holy place. He actually turned around and went back because it's mentioned that he met sages, he met people in the Himalayas. And one dialogue is that he met one of the sages and he tried to provoke him. He said, I can kill you if you don't answer my question. And he wanted to get some knowledge about anger and how to control oneself, etc., etc. And he poised and stood, it seems, with his sword and said, I'll chop off your head if you don't answer. And in answer, that sage just smiled and said that you are a servant of anger. And seeing the demeanor of the Rishi not being afraid, not at all getting angry, he actually learnt many things. That if a person is spiritually active, then the material nature cannot actually arouse him to anger so easily. Vishwamitra got angry so many times and lost all the benefits of his austerities. Durvasa Muni regularly gets so angry and curses and loses. If one remains controlled, knowing that Krishna is under control and keeps himself fixed in Krishna consciousness, then there is a good chance that you reap very good benefits, great benefits. Sometimes it's necessary for us to tolerate. Sometimes it's necessary for us to control our anger and use it properly. So human being is meant for these types of austerities. These are not something that you should not do. These are something that you must do. Controlling your anger, being patient, being tolerant. All these things purify you. They purify you. When your senses are screaming and when your expectations are not met and anger wells up, if you learn to be engaged in Krishna consciousness and ward off that situation, then you go up one notch in your spiritual life. These are very important things. So these challenges, we should not instantly react. We should proactively accept it and do the needful, just like Dhruva Maharaj here is proactively accepting Swayambhuva Manu's advice and desisting from killing the Yakshas. And he's also realizing that I have done wrong. I will not do, because a very powerful personality like Swayambhuva Manu is instructing him. So when we have advice from people who can help us, who are interested in us, and they tell us not to, that means it's a great fortune for us. Because here, Swayambhuva Manu's blessings, all good fortune for you. See, Bhadram te, all good fortune to you. Right in the beginning, after preaching to him, Swayambhuva Manu has blessed him with fortune. Control your anger, and he's willing to listen to that because everybody wants to remain fortunate. That's natural. And if you want to sustain it, then you must do here the practical action of sitting and reading with people. Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, first Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Right? And we get toned down when we hear all these wonderful pastimes of people who got angry, who were checked, and we can, learn very deep lessons from these things. About reading, I don't want to say too much, but the connection between reading and anger is very interesting. Shrutena bhuyasa, by constantly hearing. Shrutena, hearing. The Vedic literature is called Shruti. And you can do service to the Vedic literature, you can acquire that knowledge only by hearing Shruti. And that's why it's mentioned Shrutena bhuyasa. We should hear about the pastimes of Krishna. Hearing is very important. I tell devotees to listen to Prabhupada's lectures regularly, read his books regularly, chant Hare Krishna regularly. And in this way, to a great extent, one can control his anger. So this reading of Prabhupada books is not ordinary at all. We should definitely spend some time every day and pick up some important points, make notes on it, let it internalize very deeply. Gradually, when we do this, we will be in a position to only show anger when it is required in devotional service. That situation is perfect. Om Tat Sat. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Parantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Nittai Gaura Premanande. If you have any questions, comments, we will try to answer them for you. Yes, Rasika Gauradas. I can't hear you. Oh, yeah. Can't hear you. Can you unmute? Seshurupa, can you unmute?
Yeah. Maharaj. Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful class, Maharaj, today about anger management. It's very, very useful. Maharaj, many years back, Badrinarayan Maharaj, in his glorification of Srila Prabhupada, said that three things about Prabhupada really impressed him: that he was 100% free from lust, free from self-righteous anger, and a genuine desire to help others. So the self-righteous anger, managing the self-righteous anger is the biggest challenge Maharaj one has, because we think that we are right and the other person is wrong, and because of that, naturally you have a right to be angry. So being free from the self-righteous anger is required, Maharaj. And we see some devotees like Jayananda Prabhu and all, they say that he was never angry at all. So your comments on that, Maharaj? Thank you.
Well, these are practical examples. And Prabhupada did get very angry when you did not do things as per his instructions, or you have created a damage for the organization, the institution, or you have harmed the preaching in some way, or you're setting a bad example as a leader. So he did get angry. But like you said, it was nothing to do with himself. For himself, he was very tolerant. To manage 2 heart attacks and a stroke and continue preaching, depending only on Krishna. That is a very wonderful quality. So Prabhupada is definitely a person who in recent times we can see, and he's a very practical person. You see, I never did anything fanatically. Where he got angry, people knew that he has a good reason to get angry. And mostly they did not sometimes understand why he's getting angry, because the cultural differences and all that. But then they found out, and he would explain to them very patiently, this should be done like this. This is not the way to do this. Who is that rascal? And he's mentioned that his lips were shivering and trembling, and he was like shaking like that. So they were so afraid of going near Prabhupada because they'd done something wrong. But invariably, they all knew that we are doing wrong and Prabhupada is telling us the right thing, and they followed. So these are, to me, it sounds like down to earth, nothing so idealistic. That's why it's very realistic. When a person gets angry, I feel that this guy is a normal guy. Sometimes when people don't get angry at all, I'm very suspicious. What is this fellow doing? Who is he, by the way? Especially when all these materialists don't get angry and act like this. They're not devotees, but they act like, I know this guy is up to something. They're very dangerous fellows, those guys who act very nice and all. So I like the idea of, when I heard that Prabhupada gets angry, got this and all that, very good. Now I can put faith in this person. It's normal. I remember once Guru Maharaj telling me, so you want to take so-and-so, he's a vice president of so-and-so temple, and he wants to leave that place and he wants to this thing now. So I was looking at this thing, why is he suddenly telling me this? And then he said, so what is the speciality that he has? He's a normal person, he gets angry. When I heard that mistakes, Guru Maharaj told me, he makes mistakes, he does all these things. He's perfectly normal. That's why I'm recommending him to. Obviously, there was some problem there. He got angry with somebody or whatever. So he's putting it to me and saying that he's a perfectly normal guy. He gets angry, he gets this thing, he gets all that. So I thought I can, send him to you. That was a very interesting instruction to me. That the converse of that is, you have to be very careful with guys who don't get angry, who don't be normal and put up a whole artificial stuff around them. They'll blow up one day and they'll create such a huge damage that, you'll have to work very hard to set it right. So for me, when authorities get angry with your knowledge, it makes me feel that they care for me. They care for me, so they get angry with me. But if somebody is very diplomatic and very nice and suave and smooth, I am very afraid of this person, because he must be most interested only in his own welfare and doesn't care for you. That's why people are so smooth and suave. And all these guys learn all these things when they get educated, MBA, this, that, public relations, how to market things, how to convince the guy, how to make him buy it, how to say good things to him, whatever he says to you, etc., etc. So the world is filled with these type of duplicitous, hypocritical arrangements. But a devotee should be perfectly grounded. He should be natural. That's why, for me, Prabhupada is a very natural person. Everything is natural about him. The thing that we need to learn that internally, he is a great lover of Krishna. He did not put on an act on the external plane. You get to know Prabhupada, then you know he's really a devotee. For the sake of devotional service, he'll get angry, he'll do that, he'll do business, he will, do all sorts of things, what is necessary. That to me is very amazing. Yeah. And there are devotees, like you're saying, who are very calm, peaceful, very satisfied in themselves. And they are not asking for position in the society, wanting to be like this or like that, or do this particular type of service in this particular position. They are happy with the holy name and a little prasadam, and and they are very nicely grounded, luckily for them, fortunately for them. They're simple. They're simply happy in Krishna consciousness. If you're not simple, and if you're complex, then you have lots of problems. So Jayananda Prabhu was known to be a very intelligent devotee, but at the same time very simple. He is nicely grounded in Krishna consciousness. He had decided, this is life, this is the end, this is everything for me. And Sukham Sushwapa Pingala. There is this beautiful story of the prostitute called Pingala in the 12th canto. It ends with this statement that Sukham Sushwapa Pingala, that she slept that night very peacefully like no other night. The story of the prostitute that this great Brahmana learned a lesson from her was that she was coming out and posing and showing her body in a provocative way to everybody and trying to get customers. So one night she was desperate. She was just to get money plus get her gratification. She was desperate and nobody was coming. So she was saying, this person, maybe this person, maybe that person, maybe this person. Like that. She spent the night. Then somewhere in between, she said, what am I doing? Just what am I doing? All these expectations and screwing up my whole consciousness and spoiling it all because of those expectations. Why don't I depend on Krishna? Why don't I? He's the Lord of my heart. He's everything to me. And, this is what I've heard throughout my life and everything. Something struck her so heavily, so clearly, that she decided, that's it. I have no expectation from anybody. And Krishna is everything for me. And it seems that night she said that and went to sleep the best night. Sukham Sushwapa Pingala. Sukham, very happily. Sushwapa, she went to sleep. So that incident is cited, and that Brahmana learned that if we can simply depend on Krishna and surrender to him and accept everything, everything is normal. I don't care about any material differences and other things that there are existing and people are there like this, like that. My business is to remain in the shelter of Krishna, and I'm very happy about it. I've discovered Krishna. I've discovered his shelter. I've discovered Bhakti. A holy name is with me. The Bhagavatam is with me. These are all great things. These are all my real wealth. These are all my greatest of securities. And I cling on to that. And if I have faith, that's it. Right? No anger, ginger, or anything can affect you. I think for me, Jayananda Prabhu is somebody like that. Right? Yeah. Anjana, when we, question from Anjana on the chat, When we are with our close family members, I see that my default behavior comes up. And I often get angry with so many things. And it's difficult because they say that you are into Gita and all, then why are you getting angry? So I get disturbed with myself. How to deal with such situation? Yeah, don't get angry with your relatives. You may be getting angry because they are not being Krishna conscious. With relatives, this is the best place to test your anger is with your relatives. Because with whom you are familiar and they know you very well, you know them very well, that's when anger business can be tested out best. No point testing your anger with some strangers. They will say, go get lost here, I'm not going to see you again, so I don't want to. But with the familiar people, every morning you have to face them. In fact, you have to actually see their face and you have to be with them. Oh boy, I'm stuck. This is my karma. You have to feel. So that's where anger can really be tested. So you take it as a Krishna conscious challenge. You see them as spirit souls, part and parcel of Krishna, who are lost, who are ignorant, they don't know. And you should be determined to make them know. And you pray to Krishna within their heart as super soul. And you settle down there and you be a different, don't get involved into the things that they are saying and respond to it now. Just remain aloof. And what they are saying is correct. They are waiting to find a fault with you. You're reading Bhagavad Gita now and getting angry. What's the use? So I'll not read Bhagavad Gita because this is what will happen to me. They are rationalizing based on your behavior. So you should not get angry with these people. Best. That is why no point getting angry. You quietly, assertively do things, but don't show it physically. In fact, they will get angry with you. If you are assertive, you don't move out of your position. You speak the Bhagavad Gita. And that's up to you. If you don't want to, you don't. If you say, then they'll become very curious about you. They'll become very curious. They'll ask you questions. Psychology is like that. If you neglect them, they will come to you asking more about what you're doing because they want your attention. Because internally, they all know you're doing the correct thing. They'll start appreciating. Simply don't interfere. Leave them alone. Disappear from there. And they'll come, hey, where are you? Come here, come here. No, I'm reading Bhagavad Gita. They say, no, please come here. Read to us also Bhagavad Gita. They'll say something like that. I have found it that the best way is to neglect. When you neglect, they'll call you because they feel bad. You should also be part of our gang. You belong to this gang. But you have the risk of calling me into your gang. If you call me, I'll do what I want to do assertively. So slowly they have to accept it. And at least you can speak to them without anger. If you be part of it and then you listen to everything they say and then you will struggle inside to do what because you don't have power, you don't have influence there. So create for yourself the power and influence by remaining a little aloof, and they will respectfully call you and respectfully hear from you. Then you have an audience who values what you want. If you familiarize, because familiarity breeds contempt is what's happening here. So you stay away. You stay away. I remember I learned this because those were the days when TV came inside and people were watching the TV like nothing. Everybody was buying black and white TV. Doordarshan, only channel available. Way back, maybe in the 70s, late 70s, 80s. 80s actually, late 70s and early 80s. I remember that I used to go on the top and chant and read Bhagavatam and do my puja and everything. And in the bottom, my family members were watching the TV till late night. And I told them, don't sit and watch the TV. Why don't you read the Bhagavad Gita? I told you this, why don't you? Every day I would say that. I would come back from my work and I'd go on top and I'd be lost. I come down at 9:30, something like that, and go to bed. In the morning also I would disappear. And they were happy because I'm not there. And they watch the TV. When I come down, they hear some Bhagavatam from me or something. So one day I said, stop watching the TV like this. I got very angry, actually. I took the voltage stabilizer and dashed it to the ground. Now let us see you guys watching TV. They got so scared and ran away. What is it, this fellow? My gosh, he broke the voltage stabilizer. And then my brother was super angry with me. Also my elder brother. But I gave him another tough look and watch all you guys just spending time watching TV all the time. I was super angry. But actually I knew that was useless. It didn't work very good at all. Because in 3 days' time, my brother bought another voltage stabilizer and they were watching the TV again. So I looked at him and said, this fellows will never stop this. Your anger is simply wasted. That's it. Then I became aloof. I stopped eating prasadam. Stopped eating food at home. That's it. My mother became super disturbed. I said, no, I'll fast. I'll go to the temple and eat. And I started saying those type of things at cave. They became very uncomfortable. Then they said, okay, we'll not watch TV. Please eat first. Please eat. We'll not watch TV. Please eat. So I said, no, you can watch only in the evening. You can watch at so-and-so time to so-and-so time. Rest of the time, you should not watch. Otherwise, I'll not eat here. I commanded respect. They said, okay. They followed it. And I told them, you should chant. You should do this. And it was like, scaring them to do it. And so in different places, you may have to do different things. You know your family members, you play the necessary trick required. Don't get angry, no use. Accomplish what you want to accomplish. Put a drama. Drama is the best thing at home. Make the drama. Right? Okay. Madhu Krishna. But sometimes I can't able to control my anger. What can I do to control anger? Well, that's what the whole class is about, by the way. Madhu Krishna ji. Sometimes only you're not able to control anger. For me, many times. And I go and see then the site, they have done this, the contractor is cheated like this. I told you to do this, you did that. And the money is gone. Somebody else has stolen this, or something has happened this way, something has happened that way. And instructions are not followed. We have lost our reputation, lost the money. Definitely you have to get angry, and you will get angry. So we should not uselessly get angry. If you get angry, you must accomplish something for Krishna. You should be fruitful in Krishna consciousness. So nothing wrong in getting angry, but do it with a purpose. And it's a difficult thing. It's not easy, I understand. But at the same time, you must learn from all these great personalities in the Bhagavatam. How to be oriented towards, determined towards doing everything for Krishna. When that element of me, mine, everything comes, then something else happens there. And it's quite normal for all of us. We don't have to think that we have a halo on the head and our feet don't touch the ground and we are gliding. And why did I get angry? I shouldn't have got angry. Of course you'll get angry. Why not? Why not? Put your feet on the ground, Prabhuji, because we can see it, with the ordinary Hawaii chapel only. So it's nothing great. So let's be where we are and practice Krishna consciousness. Tangaraj K, is it recommended to control anger in initial stage, or as you told, I should make my sadhana strict? We should do everything. You should do everything. Anger, especially to do with your own gratification. As you grow older and more mature in Krishna consciousness, Maya plays a bigger trick. For ordinary material things and gross things, you will not get angry. But you will get angry for very subtle material things. Name, fame, glory. For that you will get angry and nobody will be able to make out. Only you will know. And you have to be pretty intelligent to know it also. You have to read Prabhupada's books regularly to know that this is what is happening to me. Here it's happening for Dhruva Maharaj. What to speak about you and me? Forget it. It's happening to even to Dhruva Maharaj. He has just seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's happening to him. So definitely it will happen to all of us. So follow these instructions of Manu. Follow these instructions that Prabhupada has given and hope for the best. Everything will not be 100% correct, but it could be from 20%, it could become 30%, 40%, 50% slowly. So we will make gradual progress, not overnight progress. Venugopal Tirumurti, Hare Krishna Maharaj. My inquiry is from Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita. After Srila Prabhupada left Jhansi and even Gaudiya Sangha of Bhakti Saranga Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada was in Delhi facing tough conditions even for food, cloth and shelter. Seeing this with material mind, some feel like pity on Srila Prabhupada. But I feel in the commitment to fulfill his Guru Maharaj order, he is voluntarily taking such austerity. Kindly instruct me, is this correct way of understanding? Yes, you're right. Prabhupada was not feeling anything bad. He was not in self-pity either. Prabhupada was doing what was his situation. The situation was like that. For a businessman who could earn money and he had a big empire of a business and a lot of money and plenty, to be in a situation where he has to depend only on Krishna is pretty trying, because he'll say, I can make money like that. I can do that. I don't have to be. But as a sannyasi, he remained totally dependent. And Krishna looked after Prabhupada, although he was facing this and that challenge, because Prabhupada always depended on Krishna. He was looked after, and Prabhupada could make out that Krishna is looking after me, is with me. It looked like he's, without food and shelter and whatever. But Prabhupada was very happy. It's not a question of seeing a pure devotee from the material angle and saying, oh, he's suffering. Yata dekhiya Vaishnave riduk tata janiha uni paramananda sukh. It is mentioned, whenever you see a Vaishnava in material difficulty and he is troubled, you must understand that he is in great pleasure in Krishna consciousness. That you must understand. Tata janiha uni paramananda sukh. He is enjoying in a big way because he's relating to Krishna in that so-called material misery. So these judgments are our judgments from our point in the material world. They may not always be true. Okay? Sai Ritvik Kumar, Hare Krishna. Sometimes I angered past faults. I got high pressure of angry, then only I got satisfaction. Then my family members scold me. What is the use of chanting you are doing? How can I control me? Yeah, all these things are going to happen to you. And all these things are happening to you because Krishna is teaching you that you must understand. You must take the lessons that Krishna is giving you. You must understand that there is nothing automatic going to happen. Nothing is automatic in Krishna consciousness. I'm chanting Hare Krishna, I should not be angry, but I'm still getting angry. That means it is not supposed to be like that. The statement you made yourself, this formula you only made. If you chant Hare Krishna, you will not get angry. You only made that statement. That is not the original thing mentioned. You chant Hare Krishna, you'll get love of Krishna, and slowly as you develop your love for Krishna, you'll find it no necessary to spend your energy on getting angry with anybody in this world, because it's all a waste of time. And therefore, you'll not get angry. It is not that I chanted 16 rounds a day today morning, I got angry. Very bad, your chanting does not work. No. Don't make all these statements and want that to be fulfilled. Don't try to make it a self-fulfilling prophecy on your own. You be practical. Yes, I will get angry. I am like that. What can I do, my dear Lord? And pray and chant Hare Krishna with feeling. And don't get angry. Try not to get angry. Try to see people. Tato na vijugupsate. You have to see people in connection with Krishna. That is how you will not feel hatred. You will not feel angered. If you see everything in connection with Krishna, the anger element will be reduced. Okay? Right. Om Tat Sat. The generator has started again with a horrible noise. Of course, it did start in between also again. And all of you have to go and take your breakfast. This is Sunday. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Bhagavatam ki jai.
Maharaj.